You are in the F-35 Lightning II, the most expensive weapon system in human history.
You are invisible. You are invincible. Until suddenly, you aren't. 3 seconds to live.
You have just been hunted by the Saab Gripen E. It looks like a relic from the Cold War. It costs half as much as your jet. It does not have stealth geometry. Yet, in high-stakes NATO war games, this Swedish street fighter has reportedly done the unthinkable. It slaughtered the invisible giants of the United States Air Force. How did a budget-friendly jet from Scandinavia humiliate the trillion-dollar Joint Strike Fighter program? Is the era of stealth over? Today on AirDom, we expose the classified tech from the Arexis electronic shield to the Meteor missile that turned the Gripen into the F-35's worst nightmare. The Gripen E launches the advanced Meteor missile, capable of reaching speeds in excess of Mach 4, ensuring air dominance. For decades, the narrative of air superiority has been dominated by a single obsession, which is stealth. This belief birthed the F-22 Raptor and subsequently the F-35 Joint Strike Fighter.
However, while the Pentagon was building flying supercomputers designed to be invisible to X-band engagement radars, engineers in Sweden,
they were not building a ghost. They were building a ghost hunter.
Critics argued the Gripen was too diminutive, lacking the internal weapons bays and massive fuel capacity of its American counterparts. They claimed its single General Electric F414 engine lacked the raw thrust to compete in the high-stakes energetic. Defense publications often relegated it to the role of a plucky underdog, a budget option for nations unable to afford the grandeur of Lockheed Martin's flagship. But this mockery conveniently ignored the Scandinavian nation's unique strategic reality. Sweden one where every major airbase would likely be cratered within the first hour of conflict. Consequently, they did not design a hangar queen that requires climate-controlled maintenance. They designed a guerrilla fighter. The Gripen's design philosophy emphasizes extreme electronic aggression, networked lethality, and dispersed survivability. These very strengths would later prove devastating against the F-35 in simulated engagements, effectively turning the tables on the stealth narrative.
we must look past the glossy brochures of defense contractors and analyze the ruthless physics of the engagement.
During these classified wargame exercises, the Swedish Gripen accomplished the unthinkable.
It repeatedly outmaneuvered and effectively neutralized the F-35. This simulated dominance was not achieved through brute force,
Traditional stealth geometry, or raw kinematic speed. Instead, the Gripen adeptly utilized advanced electronics. It employed passive detection systems to pinpoint the supposedly invisible aircraft and leveraged network targeting.
In one particularly telling scenario, a Gripen pilot reportedly acquired a firing solution on an F-35 using unconventional tactics,
demonstrating that a smaller, more agile fighter could dominate the supposedly superior fifth-generation platform. This was a wake-up call that forced a re-evaluation of conventional assumptions about cost, size, and the true. To understand how the Gripen survives a fight with a supercomputer, you have to understand the Arexis Electronic Warfare suite.
This is not just a jammer. It is a weaponized hallucination.
While the F-35 relies on passive stealth, which is hiding in the dark, the Gripen uses active stealth. It brings a blinding flashlight. Here is the nightmare scenario for the American pilot. The F-35's radar fires a pulse to find the Gripen. The Arexis system does not just block that pulse, it catches it. Using Gallium Nitride technology, it clones the enemy signal, modifies it, and fires it back thousands of times per second. This creates a digital radio frequency memory, or DRFM storm.
The American pilot looks at their god-tier display, expecting a clear target.
Or a decoy formation 10 miles away from the real jet.
The Gripen creates a digital hall of mirrors, effectively blinding the F-35 sensors and severing its connection to the AWACS network.
In the electronic spectrum, the Gripen does not hide. It screams so loud that the enemy goes deaf. The second pillar of the Gripen's dominance lies in its detection methodology. It detects stealth using non-traditional sensors that bypass the stealth narrative entirely. Stealth coatings are designed primarily to absorb and scatter radar waves in specific frequency bands, largely the X-band.
However, physics dictates that you cannot hide heat. A jet engine, particularly one as powerful as the F-135 engine powering the Lightning II, is a massive thermodynamic event.
It generates an immense thermal plume.
The Gripen's Skyward-G infrared search and track system, or IRST, looks for thermal contrast against the cold background of the upper atmosphere. This sensor acts like a telescope for heat. It can detect the skin friction heating on the leading edges of an F-35's wings.
Crucially, this is a passive system. It emits no radiation. The Gripen is not pinging the F-35. It is simply watching it.
This means the F-35's sophisticated radar warning receivers remain silent.
The American pilot is being tracked, targeting data is being generated, and a firing solution is being calculated.
The paradigm shifts from who is more invisible to radar to who can see in the dark better. In the infrared spectrum, the F-35 is a burning beacon.
But before we discuss the tactical genius of its road base operations, we have to address the weapon that makes the Gripen a sniper in a knife fight. The third factor analyzes the engagement geometry and the weapon itself. The Gripen fires without being seen.
Standard solid fuel missiles, like the American AMRAAM, burn all their fuel in the first few seconds to reach top speed, then coast toward the target.
If the target maneuvers at long range, the missile can easily be defeated.
The Meteor, however, breathes air. It can throttle its engine to conserve fuel during the cruise phase and then accelerate to Mach 4 during the terminal phase. This gives the Meteor a no-escape zone nearly 3 times larger than standard missiles, granting the Gripen a massive advantage.
The Gripen utilizes network targeting data from other platforms, perhaps a ground radar or a naval vessel miles away.
This allows the Gripen to launch the missile while its own radar is turned off, maintaining electronic silence. The F-35 pilot would receive no warning tone until the missile itself went active in the final few seconds before impact. Warning.
Missile.
By then, the kinetic energy of the ramjet-powered Meteor makes evasion mathematically impossible.
The Gripen pilot shoots from the shadows, and the F-35 pilot never sees the muzzle flash.
Is how the Gripen redefines air combat, shifting the advantage through superior detection and devastating long-range precision.
But the most advanced radar jammer in history is useless if it never leaves the ground. This brings us to the Gripen's dirty little secret. It does not need an airbase.
This fourth point examines the operational doctrine, specifically the road base concept.
The Gripen turns the geography of the battlefield into a weapon. A single Gripen is not the primary threat. A swarm of dispersible Gripens is.
The jet was designed with the specific intention of countering a massive invasion where air superiority is lost. While the F-35 requires extensive, well-established air bases with pristine runways, climate-controlled hangars, and
Gripen is a rugged street fighter. It can take off from a short, icy stretch of civilian road in just 600 meters.
It can be rearmed and refueled by a small team of conscripts and a single fuel truck in under 10 minutes.
This creates a strategic nightmare for an enemy commander.
You cannot destroy the Gripen Air Force by bombing airfields, because their airfields are every stretch of straight highway in the country.
By the time an F-35 has landed, taxied to a hardened shelter, and begun its hours-long maintenance cycle to repair minor abrasions on its stealth coating,
The Gripen has already landed, reloaded, and is airborne for its second sortie.
In a high-intensity conflict, sortie generation rate is king. The side that puts more missiles in the air per hour wins.
In this metric, the Gripen dominates the fragile logistical chain of the F-35.
Point 5 focuses on connectivity. The Gripen's data link is world-class and doctrinally superior.
Sweden pioneered the concept of a real-time fighter data link, predating even NATO's broad adoption of Link 16.
Gripen pilots can instantly receive and share targeting data with one another, creating a highly coordinated and lethal.
if one Gripen sees a target via IRST, every Gripen on the network sees the target. They can perform silent attacks. The F-35's network, while advanced, is often hampered by restrictive regulations and software.
The multifunction advanced data link of the F-35 is incredible, but it is often a walled garden.
Gripen pilots can execute maneuvers and share data in ways that their F-35 counterparts are simply prohibited from performing.
On export models specifically, where the software source code is locked behind black boxes, the F-35 pilot is flying a plane they do not fully own.
The Gripen pilot is flying a weapon they can fully exploit. Right.
The Gripen truly redefines what a modern fighter jet can be, combining rugged practicality with cutting-edge network capabilities.
It offers a compelling alternative for nations facing modern, dynamic threats, prioritizing adaptability. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth analysis. So, why did the F-35 struggle so noticeably in these theoretical and simulated exercises?
Let us be candid. It was not designed for the kind of realistic, electronic warfare-intensive, dirty combat that the Gripen excels in.
The F-35 was designed for a day-one strike capability, to kick down the door of an enemy air defense network using stealth to avoid engagement.
But once the door is down, or if the door fights back with sophisticated jamming and infrared tracking, the equation changes.
The F-35 is a sniper. The Gripen is a knife fighter.
If you can force the sniper into a phone booth, the knife wins every time.
Here are the hard realities that defense analysts must grapple with. Truth 1. F-35 stealth is not magic.
It is physics, and physics has counters. Modern radar systems, particularly low-frequency L-band and V, they may not provide a weapons-grade lock, but they tell the enemy exactly where to look with their IRST sensors. Stealth is a delay tactic, not an invisibility cloak. Truth 2. The logistical tether creates a critical vulnerability. The F-35 requires a comprehensive support ecosystem, including aerial tankers, large AWACS platforms.
In a peer conflict, these support assets are big, slow, and vulnerable targets. Deprived of these resources, perhaps due to long-range missile strikes on airbases or jamming of satellite communications, the Gripen, in contrast, is fully capable of executing entire missions autonomously from a forest clearing.
It is the Swiss Army knife of lethal aviation, rugged, simple, and deadly effective in harsh conditions. Truth 3. The economic attrition. The F-35 can be overwhelmed by numbers. One F-35 costs as much as 2 to 3 Gripens, depending on the configuration and support contract. Nations can therefore field significantly larger Gripen fleets for the same financial investment.
In a war of attrition, losing a $60 million jet is a calculated loss. Losing a $150 million jet is a strategic catastrophe. The fear of losing such an expensive asset often makes commanders risk-averse, keeping the F-35 out of the most dangerous zones.
Whereas the Gripen can be pushed to the limit.
When the results from simulations clearly demonstrated the Swedish Gripen outperforming and even defeating the F-35. The reaction within global defense circles was immediate and intense. Several NATO countries began to quietly question, or simply the most politically expedient one, forced upon them. The Gripen suddenly appeared as a more intelligent, for nations that needed to defend their borders rather than project power across oceans. This revelation created a significant problem for the Pentagon. Billions of dollars in potential F-35 export deals were now at risk. Major defense contractors feared a loss of influence and market share.
To the Swedes, behind the scenes, officials sought to downplay the Gripen's success, claiming that the tests were unrealistic or unrepresentative.
True modern combat complexity. But the damage was already done. The world had witnessed a effectively challenge a
tone. This moment ignited a global backlash, eroded confidence in the absolute dominance of the stealth narrative, and exposed
the fighter market. The coming decade of air warfare is increasingly focused on electronic dominance,
precisely the environment for which the Swedish Gripen was designed. We are moving away from the era of the silver bullet single aircraft and into the era of the wolf pack. While the F-35 grapples with escalating problems such as high maintenance costs, engine overheating issues, requiring new core upgrades, low readiness rates, and an increasing reliance on vulnerable support aircraft.
While the Gripen is moving in the opposite direction. The Gripen E is undergoing substantial electronic warfare upgrades
and integrating a wire array of weapons, including potential hypersonic capabilities. It is improving its networking capabilities.
It maintains its low-cost, rapid deployment capability on roads and improvised airstrips. The battlefield of tomorrow favors an affordable reliability over trillion-dollar support ecosystems. These are all advantages that position the Gripen firmly in the lead for the years to come. The F-35 may be the most advanced computer in the sky, but the Gripen is the street fighter waiting in the alley to unplug it. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the strategic reality of modern air combat and the engineering marvel that is the Saab Gripen,
make sure to hit that like button. Join the debate in the comments below.
In a one-on-one dogfight with no support and jamming active, who do you think wins? The stealthy F-35 or the jamming Gripen? And as always, subscribe to AirDom for more relentless analysis of the military hardware shaping our world.
The results from these simulations clearly demonstrated the Swedish Gripen outperforming and even defeating the F-35.
The reaction within global defense circles was immediate and intense. Several NATO countries began to quietly question,
or simply the most politically expedient one. The Gripen suddenly appeared as a more intelligent, more economical, and more dependable alternative.
Nations that needed to defend their borders rather than project power across oceans. This revelation created a significant problem. For the Pentagon, billions of dollars in potential F-35 export deals were now at risk. Major defense contractors feared a loss of influence.